What are your thoughts on selling homes with current renters in the property?
I mean, we can do it if we have to, but I would always prefer to not have to do it that way. It opens up such a can of worms around a lot of things. I have 2 stories just from this year. I could share both of them with you at this point. One of them, we had a landlord client who he had a few houses and he wanted to sell one of his houses because his mortgage is coming up and it was going to be a lot more than he was getting for rent. And he's like, I got to get rid of this.
Mm.
Before he came to talk to us, somebody told him to serve his tenants with the form that says that he's moving in.
That's called an N12.
That's called an N12. And he came.
That's a no-no if you're not moving to the property.
This is no bueno at all.
No bueno.
So I went to meet him and I looked at the house and I'm like, catch me up. What have you done so far? And he's like, I served an N12. And I was like, oh, you're going to have a problem. I'm like, you need to make these guys happy and whatever they want to leave, you have to give it to them because if you do anything other than that, you're going to the landlord tenant board and it's going to be bad for you.
And let's be honest, they can squat too. So if the squat, it's in their right at that point because they know if you're not doing an N12. So what could happen in this kind of situation is that they may not want to move because they know you're not moving in.
Yeah.
And they're like, fine, take me to court. And then you have to prove you're going to move in. And like, it could take like 10 months. The other thing is if you do get them out on an N12 and they find out you never moved in, sold. I've heard cases where they've had to pay all of the year's rent, if not more, and then pay expenses and penalties on top.
And the penalties are no joke now.
No. So that's not a good path.
So we sat and negotiated with this guy at Starbucks for like 3 hours on like a Wednesday night, and we were going to pay him almost $20,000 for him to leave for us to be able to sell it. What ended up happening, his other house that was rented out, we gave them the documents. We're like, here, sign this and we'll write you a check. And they wanted to have somebody look over it. And his other house, during the 2 days while they were looking over it, his other house, the tenant gave notice that they were leaving. And I was like, we're selling that one then, right? He's like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, perfect. Because I would rather light $20,000 on fire than give it to this guy, right?
Same.
And he's like, yeah, let's do that. So we're like, sorry, I guess you could stay.
Not like the $20,000 on fire, but yeah. I know what you're saying. So I snorted on that one. Sorry, I saw that. Oh, God.
And the other one we had a house that was for sale in Scarborough earlier in the year that had tenants that didn't want to leave. They had it on the market until she was Airbnb-ing 2 of the rooms, and then there was long-term tenants in the other 2.
Yeah.
And this was in like March, and they had a lease until like September. And there was a whole bunch of other moving parts. Like it was tenants in common instead of joint tenants.
Technical terms. One has survivorship, one does not. This one he's talking about does not have survivorship.
Right.
That means if survivorship means if you die, your partner automatically gets without the paperwork. The other way, you have to go through like probate.
Right. So this one was,
disclaimer.
This is what happened. So they were investors, and the investor that has the money died. And the estate didn't want to do anything. We went back and forth for months. But fortunately, my clients had time and they really liked the house. And I was like, guys, this is going to be a huge pain, but we can probably get it done. We got a lot of hoops to jump through. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like the house? And they're like, Chris, it's a 9 or a 10. And I'm like, okay, we're jumping through some hoops. Like, let's figure it out. We were conditional for like 3 months. I had like 8 different amendments, like different changes, extending conditions and moving this and moving that. And we were able to get it over the line. And they actually ended up keeping the tenant and they moved into the other 2 rooms. And ended up working out really well for them.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to talk about that one where you had the situation with probate, or is that still ongoing that you weren't able to?
We could talk about that.
So I don't need to make this. So we talk about a little off air. Chris and I air our shit out all the time. So we probably know all of our shitty stories. And this was unfortunate for your client, but it wasn't your fault by any stretch of the imagination. But this is something that also can happen. Be careful with probate. So probate is when somebody passed away. Basically, the city wants their taxes, or the government wants their taxes, and it could take. If you're in Toronto, it could take almost a year, 8 months to a year to get probate.
8 months to a year.
Yeah. So, for example, Natalie's grandmother passed away. We're not even getting. I said to my mother-in-law, we're not even putting the house up for sale.
There's no point.
Because even if I put it for sale now, we could keep extending. You might lose those buyers anyway. It just doesn't make sense. So we have to go through the whole process of probate, pay the taxes, and then put it up for sale. So, all right.
100%. So we bought a little cottagey kind of property up in Innisfil, and ended up being multiple offers. Do you guys have the probate documents? Everything's good. They're like, yep, everything's good. We're good to go. We ended up winning the multiple offers. This is like at the end of 22. There was still multiple offers was still more of a thing. It's supposed to close in like early January, mid-January, whatever. It was closing on a Thursday. And on the Monday, I get a call and they said, hey, we're missing some of the estate paperwork. We can't really close on Thursday. What do you guys want to do? You want to sign like a release or something? And I started reacting like that. I started laughing. And she said, why are you laughing? And I was like, under no fucking circumstances are we signing a release. No, you're in breach. Figure out how to fix it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, tell me the truth. What are you missing? And she's like, well, some of the paperwork. I'm like, you don't have the probate documents, do you? She's like, no. So I start talking to the broker and everybody, and it turns out they haven't even started probate.
What?
They haven't
You
even.
didn't tell me that.
Yeah. Now you know. They haven't
Holy
even
shit. I
started.
I thought they had already put it through and it was taking months. Oh
No,
my God.
They haven't even started probate, and the executor thinks he doesn't have to do it. So we're like, okay, so what do you guys want to do? And they're like, I guess we could extend it. I don't know. So we're like, okay, look, we could put you guys over a barrel. We're not going to. This is what it's going to cost us. My client was porting her mortgage. She can't now. It's about $10,000 difference. We'll extend it. Fortunately, it was in Barrie Court instead of Toronto. So probably 6 months instead of 8 to 10.
Well, it could be sometimes even quicker.
Sometimes even quicker, especially
I've
if
heard
you
like
have the
3
closing.
months sometimes. But anyway, yeah.
So we're like, we'll give you an extension. If you need another extension, we'll give you another extension. Give us $10,000 off to carry our costs. Like, at the end of the day, we want the house. Let's get this done. They're like, nope, we're not even going for probate. Like, the other guy was so off his rocker with this that his lawyer
What does
quit.
their lawyer say?
The lawyer quit.
Holy
The lawyer
shit.
got so frustrated that their lawyer quit. That's how off the rails this went. And like, there's just no logic.
Okay, guys,
right?
I'm telling you, it's really hard for a lawyer to quit you in a real estate transaction. I'm
like,
just
like
saying.
the week that it's supposed to close. The week
Which you would get paid on.
The lawyer's like, we're not dealing with this anymore. Like, we're done.
Wow.
So we went through the channels and we're like, basically I gave her an amendment and I was like, this is best for everybody. It's 10,000 off. We're going to give you the extension. Go to his house. Don't leave there until he signs this, because this is going to save everybody from a long drawn out process. Trust me, this is the best thing.
Yep.
And she called me back and she's like, he's not signing it. And I'm like, okay, like, I guess you're going to hear from our litigation lawyer then. So which is the route that we ended up going down. But like, it just doesn't make any sense, right? Like, there's no logic here. Logic, like, if somebody came along and they're like, hey, we're going to give you 200 grand more for the house if you blow up that deal, like, I would get it. I don't like it, but at least I understand what you're trying to do. This is just like, he thinks he doesn't have to do probate, so he just doesn't want to. So this happened almost coming up on a year. This is going, it's been in the courts and in the litigation.
So it's still not closed?
Still not closed.
Holy shit.
We're thinking it might close like spring, summer 2024. Maybe.
Now, the values of this is, how's the value of the property? Has it gone down?
We got a pretty good we got it for a pretty good price. It's
Okay.
like, it was like a $450,000.
Well, my point was because at that point, if the prices had dropped, I would ask my money back. Also pay them they sue them for an extra amount of money and they'll go buy something even cheaper.
Yeah. I don't think there is anything even cheaper. And my client, like, there's some value to this particular house, which the litigation lawyer said was enough to just go for performance rather than money.
Yeah. Does your client have to, like, were they moving out of their own property or is this?
Fortunately, they didn't have to leave where they were at.
Yeah.
So this was going to be like a second property for her. So she wants this house. Her uncle lives down the street. So there's like a childcare component and all this stuff. So she's going after performance.
Sorry, I'm thinking childcare. By the time this thing gets settled, the kid's going to be in university.
Yeah, seriously. The kids are going to be gone.